Trick-taking games is a very popular category, genre in the board game industry. And there are lots and lots of games that use this category to create their designs and their themes and include them in various new releases. So I'm always cautious when I see trick-taking games because you either love them or hate them. Some of them I really enjoy them and I have a ton of trick-taking games in this library, but some of them I just pass them because I found them boring and dull. This was not the case with Half-Pint Heroes, which uses the trick-taking, but it adds a lot of different layers to the game without adding difficult rules or unnecessary details. What it does is uses a trick-taking central mechanism in order to take, you need to take tricks, but it uses also poker combinations. So I think the fans of poker hands and poker will really enjoy this game because the way the sets and the hands win are referring to some commonly used four of a kind or two pairs, etc., that are used in poker. But it is done in an elegant way with a lot of fun, also because the theme of the game is bar fights. There is a bar and fights are going to, you know, to burst, and it's about to crack, the hell is about to crack open, and stools start to be flying around and stuff like that. But what you're trying to do is you're trying to keep playing your cards and collect as many points as possible to win the game. So very, very fun, very, very good looking on the table. It has a lot of fun just checking on the cards because of course you play them for numbers and color for the different suits, but it has humorous representations of people handing over at the bar and are about to, they look a bit shady and are about to start a fight. So that's fun on its own, especially one guy, I think he's holding Settlers of Catan or something like that. Anyway, you're going to see what I mean. Join me, I'll show you how the game plays, and right after that we'll come back with a quick opinion on how it plays and what impressions it leaves. Okay, let's see how we play Half-Pint Heroes. The game summary is very simple. Half-Pint Heroes is an easy to learn but hard to master card game for 2 to 7 players, where players will play sets of cards from their hands each round to beat the sets of their opponents. You also need to be able to correctly assess the strength of your hand in order to predict how many sets you will win each round. Once the predictions are revealed, players will also be able to bet against each other in order to reach their goal. You need to stay alert and keep an eye on your opponent's plays to avoid letting a brawl break out. If that's the case, the only player will walk away with points will be the one that it is a winner. The game is played over 10 rounds and points are scored for each winning card set, for correctly predicting your number of winning sets and for correctly betting against other players' predictions. Additional bonus are scored at the end of the game for the longest streak of correct predictions. So what we find in front of us is 65 fighting cards which have this back, and this is how they look. They're numbered from 1 to 33 and they're in 5 different suit colors. We have a scoring pad for tallying the score at the end of the game. We have player aids. Each player is going to get one of those player aids which shows all the possible combinations that the award will yield in winning a set if you have the highest. Of course, the royal flush at the top is stronger than, for example, one pair, which is at the bottom. And then, of course, at the back you have the flow of the game as a reminder. Each player is going to take one of those player aids, and of course they're going to get their 4 prediction cards. The prediction cards come in different colors. They have the 0, 1, 2 and 3, and as you can see it gives different amount of points depending on the prediction, and of course you have the matching betting chip as well. Each player have already in front of them the 4 prediction cards, their betting chip and their player aid. Now we're ready to start. The fight cards are shuffled and we need to make space in the middle of the table so that a potential row of up to 5 cards can be laid next to it. So we're ready to start. First of all, let's see the fight card layout anatomy. So this is how fight cards look like. They have the number, so this is a 3. They have the color, so this is a blue, and they have two different symbols on the bottom. The bottom left one shows the number of cards in the card row this round. So for example here, the first card we opened was a 5, so we need to open in total 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cards. And the bottom right corner shows the number of cards in each player's hand this round. So the gameplay is very simple. The gameplay has the below flow. The game is normally played over 10 rounds, and each round is divided in 5 phases. We have phase 1, which is deal. Then we have phase 2, which is of course making predictions. Phase 3, which is the betting. Phase 4, we play the cards. And then phase 5, it's the end of a round scoring. Now let's have a quick word about each of those phases to begin with. We have first of all phase 1. And here is the reminder player aid as well. Phase 1 is very simple. The start player reveals the top card from the fight card deck and lays it face up in the middle of the table. So this is the first card I open, let's say for this example. The start player then looks at the number shown in the symbol here, which shows the number of cards that are going to be dealt in each player, and deals each player that number of cards face down from this stack. Here says 3, so I gave already 3 cards to each of the 4 players that I have set here. Then the next number that we check is this symbol here, which means that this row of cards needs to be that long. This needs to be a 5 card long row, so 1, then I open another one, 2, 3, 4, and then I opened this one, 5. So that's it. This is the deal, and it's very simple and happens at the beginning of every round. This is a phase 1. Then we move to phase 2. Each player now looks their hand of cards. Take a closer look depending on what you're dealt, and then of course the possible combinations here. And what you're trying to do is, by looking your cards, you try to decide how many sets you think that you can win this round. This decision is based on what sets could be built using both the cards the player has in the hand, the 3 here, plus the common one that are laid in the middle of the table, these 5 ones, which are common for everyone. So the combination is going to come from both your own cards and the public cards. A set can consist of a single card or a specific combination of multiple cards, and the player's reference card indicates exactly what is valid as a set. Again, you can always refer to your player aid. Players then select one or more of their prediction cards, which they have here, in order to indicate the exact amount of sets they tend to win this round based on what they're dealt and what they see publicly open. Multiple prediction cards may be added together to reach the desired total, except the 0 card, which then it must be used alone to predict that you're not going to win any set this round. Everyone places the chosen card face down in front of them, so that you know that this, for example, this turn, I'm predicting that I'm going to win 2 sets. The rest I'm putting in the side. Once all players have done their predictions, then the predictions are turned face up, so it's visible to everybody, and you know that this player here is predicting to win 2 sets. Then we move to phase 3, which is the betting. All players must now simultaneously place their betting chip in front of an opponent who they believe will be unable to achieve their prediction this round. If this opponent's prediction is incorrect, then any player betting against them will receive bonus points. We'll see later on how. So let's say I'm saying that this guy said that he's going to win 3 for the purposes of this example. So this guy is betting that he's not going to make it. The same goes for him. Maybe he's betting that he's not going to make it, and he's betting let's say this guy. Of course you need to bet on an opponent. There's a special rule for 2 players. Each player must decide whether to bet against the opponent or not, and betting against a prediction that turns out to be incorrect is still worth the normal bonus points. However, only in a 2-player game. If a bet is made against an opponent who successfully achieves their prediction, then the opponent receives the bonus points instead. Proceeding to phase 4, which is the main meat of the game. Phase 4 is where we play cards. The start player goes first. Let's say it was this one, the one with The most recent black eye, according to the rules, and that's interesting, meaning that they were in a bar fight or a fight in general. So starting with the first player plays one or more cards from their hand face up to the table in front of them. These played cards must create a valid card set when combined with 0 or more cards from the card row in the middle of the table. A valid card set is a specific combination of one or more cards, and each other player then follows around the table by doing exactly the same. So this guy who's second must play a valid set, then this one and this one. At least one card must be always played if a player still has any cards remaining in their hand, and keep in mind that a single card is always a valid set. A player may never play more than one set on a single turn, or play extra cards that do not belong to their set. And players without any cards in their hand are skipped for the remainder of the round. A card set consists of either a single card or a specific combination of multiple cards, and as explained, please refer to the valid set reference 8, which shows exactly what you can and cannot play. Any of those combinations is a valid set, even a single card. I can play a single card and this is a valid set. Sets are built using not only the cards in the player's hand, here, but also the ones in the public main row of cards in the table. These cards remain on the table but may be treated as though they were part of each player's hand for purposes of building sets. They may each be part of multiple player sets, so he can use those cards, or some of them, he can use some of those cards, and the same goes for the following sets as well. However, use only cards from the card row when making a set. You cannot use only cards here to say I have a full 2 pairs and not contribute any card on my own, and that's not allowed. Each player must use their highest value set if possible to create using all of the cards they choose to play from their hand, as well as any cards from the card row that fit within that set, and any cards in that row that do not fit in the highest possible value set may be ignored for scoring purposes. After every player has played a set to the table, the set strengths are compared 1, 2, 3 and 4, and the set with the highest number card, as indicated in the rank here, of course will win the set. In tied full house, you compare the 3 matching cards first, and if still a tie, continue on comparing the next highest number cards to determine a winner. In case of identically numbered tied sets, the winner is a set that was played first. So if he played it first, he will be the winner. This is how you play cards. Keep in mind that the winner of all of the sets, so in this section, takes all the played cards, not those from the main row, only the ones that the players played in front of them, and places them in a stack next to his play area. The cards from each winning set are placed in separate stacks, so if I win the second set as well, I'm not putting it on top of my previously won one, I'm keeping them separately, so the number of stacks can be counted at the end of the round. The winner of the set is now the start player and begins again by playing a new card set in order to follow. If this player has no cards left, then the player is the next one clockwise, so if I don't have any other cards to play. It is possible that at some point in the round only one player will be left with cards still in their hand. In this case, turns continue normally with that player automatically winning every set played. Players should take care to avoid this, because this will give an advantage to the player. And there is a special rule for two-player game. In a two-player game, the round ends immediately when one player runs out of cards. Again, briefly to show you the sets here, from top to bottom we have the Royal Flush, 5 of a kind, it's the second row. The third row is a straight flush. We have 5 cards of the same color with 5 sequential numbers, all less than 13 here. Here we have 4 of a kind, we have 4 8s. Below we have a flush, 5 cards of the same color, 5 red ones. Full house, 5 cards with 3 in the same number and 2 in the different matching number. So here I have 3 2s and 2 9s. Then I move here where I have a straight, 5 cards with 5 sequential numbers, so I have 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 regardless of their color. Then I move to 3 of a kind, I have 3 3s. Then I have two pairs, 2, 2 and 2 8s. Then I have a single pair, 2 4s, and then I have a single card. Again, in any case, what is beneath is weaker than what is above. But I think people who play poker will be able to identify quickly with ranking for sure. So, this is the end of the fourth phase, and we proceed to the end of the scoring round, which is the phase 5. When all players are out of cards, the round ends and scores are totaled on the scorepad, which is this one here. You write your name here, and each player will have a column, and you're going to total the score each time. So, each player receives 10 points for each of the sets that they won, the set aside, the number of stacks in front of each player. If a player won exactly the number of sets they predicted, so if this guy won 2 sets, then they receive the additional points won shown on the prediction, so he will also receive 20 as shown here. And keep in mind that they need to mark with an X the scorepad by putting an X in the circle here. If a player predicted and won 0 sets, then they receive an additional 20 points. This is a valid one, because for example, you can say that I'm going to win in a 5-player game 0 sets, and then I will 20 points, or 30 if I'm playing for 2 to 4 players. If a player's betting chip is in front of a player who did not win the number of sets, so he did not win 3, and this guy has his black betting chip in front of him, then he receives an additional 20 points. Of course, as scoring reminder, we flip the chips to show that each player has scored their additional points and it's not done again. There's a special two-player rule. If a player opponent bets against them, place the betting chip in front of them, but they did win the number of sets predicted, then the player who was betting against them receives 20 bonus points themselves. This is only for 2 players. Each player total score for this round is written in their column in the next empty scorepad row, and then this is going to be the score. There is a brawl special case. If a brawl occurred, the round ends immediately and only the player who started the brawl scores any points. They receive 10 points for each set they won and an additional 30 points for starting the brawl. A total of at least 60 points, so be careful. Prediction and betting chip points are not scored, so you lose points even if you bet correctly. That player also writes a B inside their circle on the scoring pad to indicate a brawl. And all other players receive 0 points and leave the circle blank, even if the prediction was correct. There is also the gunfight, and if one or more players is able to either make a correct prediction or start a brawl 5 rounds in a row, has for example 5 X marks or B marks in a row in the same score column, then a gunfight is started. The next round is played normally, and if one of these players is able to again make a correct prediction or start a brawl for the 6th time in a row, then the game ends immediately and the player is declared the winner, without counting any points. If more than one player makes the 6 correct prediction in a row in the gunfight round, then the winner is the one whose prediction is higher. If the tie still exists, then they share the victory. So, this is how you score the points. If it goes to the last round, you will need to proceed by totaling everything and proceeding to the final score. Otherwise, the next clockwise player will be to the last start player, will be the last player to start. So all players take back the prediction cards, the betting chips, and then the fighting cards, and we start with a new round as indicated before. After the last round was finished, we total the score and get the final scoring. Each player, using the scorepad, scores bonus points for the longest consecutive number of rounds where they either made a correct prediction or started a brawl with an X or a B in the score column, and any row without a mark in the single ends a consecutive round. For example, if the other player did a brawl and you had a blank. Each player receives 10 points per round contained in the longest consecutive round, and the final points are added in the scorepad to make the total. The player with the most points is the winner, and in case of the tie player who started the most brawls with a B in the column wins. If still tied, the win goes to the player with the most correct prediction X, and if still a tie, the tied players share the victory. And this is how you play Half-Pint Heroes. First of all, Half-Pint Heroes looks beautiful on the table. The materials used, the art, the humorous approach to the guys and the ladies on the cards is good. All these people who hanging at the bar and ready to pick up fight really give you that impression, but from a humorous perspective. The fact that it uses trick-taking as a central mechanism is a plus. I really like trick-taking games, but the way for you to win the trick is not just to have a higher number. You need to bet on sets of cards. So you use 5 cards or 3 cards depending on, or I don't know, 4 cards depending on the cards that are in the common row, plus cards from your hand, and you have to make predictions at the beginning of your turn in order to say that I'm going to win 2 sets or 3 sets or 0 sets, for example. And then when the round ends, you get points for winning sets, for making correct bets, or also for putting your betting chip on the player who you think is not going to make his prediction. All of them are fun, and combined they give a lot of juice without adding unnecessary rules to the game. Very fun. This is Half-Pint Heroes.